A key member of the federal government's COVID-19 vaccine task force quit this week. Dr. Gary Kobinger is a leading vaccine researcher who worked with the team that developed an Ebola vaccine. iPolitics first reported that he left the task force in part because he didn't think it was being transparent enough with Canadians. For more, we've reached Dr. Kobinger himself in Quebec City. Hi there, doctor. Good to see you. Thank you for making time for us.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
We laid out part of the reason that you no longer wanted to be part of the task force. The issue was transparency. Can you expand on that for us a bit? What did you feel the task force was not being transparent enough about?
Well, there was many points, and indeed one of the point was transparency. I think these days transparency, especially in relation to vaccine development, there's never enough of it. So we really need to make sure that the population, in my view, understands every step of it. In my view, I'm part of a lot of advisory board for different countries, including from WHO. And I think conflict of interest, which are always being disclosed, as far as I know, the one I've been part of inside the group, also should be made available publicly. And, it was not a criticism, but it was just a lack of comfort from my side to not see those conflict of interest, not only not being made public, but actually somehow being defended as a position and a way to framework in which this community was working. But truthfully, this was one of the points. Another point was really that, and I really commend all the members and the participants of that task force, because it is extremely demanding. There was a lot of hours every week, and considering that a lot of us have 2 to 3 full-time jobs in addition to those commitments, it was extremely hard for me to keep up. To tell the truth, this was actually the first aspect of it.
Since you left the task force, there's been a bit of movement on the transparency file insofar as the government came up with a statement, and then it said, given the significant interest in the vaccine task force process, this is a statement from Minister Navdeep Bains' office, the task force is taking the exceptional step of publishing a registry of declared interest. So they did end up making their conflicts of interest public on a website. Canadians can access that. Do you think that's a result of you saying that you were worried about transparency?
I hope not. I prefer to think that, these days things are going so fast. I think we see some processes and some action being taken because of the urgency. And I think it's normal that people don't go through all the specifics for all the processes. I hope not. By the way, I think I'm not the only one that stopped participating. I think maybe others were more polite, or at least one. To say that it was really a matter of commitment of time, but I know it for a fact that there was also some concern about that. That being said, I think the important point here is that there is increased transparency. I prefer to think that it's not because of me or others, but that it was going to happen anyway, like other points actually that I had raised within the community that were addressed before this weekend when this news came out.
I should say that the statement from Minister Bains' office also said it's important to note that the task force does not make funding decisions. It essentially provides advice to the government. Can I ask you from your point of view as sort of an expert in this field, but also someone who has now worked with the task force, do you think Canada is on the right track where a vaccine is concerned?
I think yes. I think what is being done right now to enter in contract with company that have vaccine that are advancing through clinical evaluation quickly is on track, because they are making agreement happen, and this is what we were all hoping to see. I think it really gets down to the nitty-gritty of technicalities, and I think the point is very important that the task force is only recommending. The government has other sources of information and that they are using, and it's not because the task force recommends a vaccine that necessarily, first, it could be not possible to enter into an agreement, for example. So that makes it, a reason for not following a recommendation right off. But I think what's important, I think the work of the task force is extremely important. One of the EU country contacted me in the past few days because they are very interested in the concept, and they wanted to see how they can also benefit from this kind of exercise. So I think Canada is really doing the right thing in terms of getting information the best they can, considering all the the data that are being generated. You know, it's a moving target right now. So it's a bit trying to read into the future, which is impossible.
It's not. It certainly isn't easy. Just based on your concerns that you did raise previously about transparency, do you have any concerns about the way in which these agreements have come about or the decisions the government has made? Or do you think Canadians can have confidence that they are sort of signing these agreements free of conflict of interest?
Listen, my view of this maybe is extreme, and I know that is definitely not shared by everybody. But I proposed at one point, I think that every Canadian should be able to call in on this discussion, and they will actually realize that the discussion have one thing at heart is the benefit of public health in Canada and Canadians. And so for me, that would be, it's impossible logistically probably, but then I've thrown the idea of inviting journalists not to publish an article the following day, but just to document. And this is being done now. In the past since last week, actually, I was very surprised and pleased by this by WHO that has one of the very well-known journalists to document the response to COVID and writing a book about it. That is going to come out, in a year or 2 years. We don't know, but I think it's important that people feel confident. In terms of vaccine, we need to give and do everything possible to prevent those conspiracy theories and those misinformation, so that people are well informed and they can also contribute to controlling this epidemic.
I just have a minute left, Dr. Kobinger, but you talk about conspiracy theories or misinformation that's out there. There's so much discussion about a timeline for a vaccine, and I know it's so difficult to read into the future. Do you think it's realistic for Canadians to think they might have access to one sometime next year?
Yeah, from the beginning, I've put my bet on the spring to the summer of 2021. I certainly hope that it's going to come before, but I think that it's a reasonable timeline to get really a say. But some subpopulation may see something coming out for them first, and that would be great too. But I think it's reasonable for the next spring. But I hope that this whole discussion about the task force in Canada is not going to be a distraction. I think the work is important. Vaccination has saved more life than any other medical intervention, and that people need to also have access to information. So I think this is the point. I think we're in a good spot in Canada. We're lucky to have the Public Health Agency of Canada and other federal department helping here.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Doctor. I appreciate your insights and your time tonight. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.